It is 10:34 right back here on this 26th day of January. Evelyn King joins me now, author of The Oracle. Right?
Yep. That is it.
I want to make sure. One of the authors that I met at the Hainer Library local author fair and ruined all my business cards and still can't find them. But I'm glad you're here now.
Yeah, that's the truth.
This is so cool. So take us through this. Just to start us off, give us a brief overview, elevator pitch of what the book's all about.
Yeah, so it's a high fantasy novel. If you're not super familiar with that genre, think like Game of Thrones and your Lord of the Rings books. So it's based in a high fantasy world, entirely unique, something that I came up with when I was a teenager. And it follows a pirate and a prince going on this really insane journey, a total unlikely duo. Their kingdoms have been at war for centuries. And so they're on the hunt for this great mystery, learning a lot about themselves and a lot of hijinks along the way.
That is awesome. That's a book that fits right up my alley. So how, like you said, you developed this or you had this concept. Was it just kind of like taking bits and pieces of your favorite kind of novels, your favorite stories as, you know, growing up or even now and kind of combining those into your new direction? How did that come about?
So my dad and I, or more so my dad used to play a lot of like Dragon Age and The Witcher and Fable, and I would just sit there and watch him. And then when I became a teenager, I got super into those video games. So I was like, man, these stories are so cool. Like, I want to be a writer like that. And then I was like, oh, I can be a writer like that. And one night, I think it was like 2 a.m., I was 17 and I was playing Dragon Age. And I was like, I'm going to hijack a little bit of this story. And so I started writing a book. I wrote like 3 chapters that night, totally like in a sleep deprived, like manic state, and scrapped it, got the idea for this book and started from there.
That is incredible. And I mean, the reviews are great like this one. You know, The Oracle provides exactly what you need and want from a first novel in a series. I mean, so many people loving this book. I mean, it's got to make you feel good that your vision of something you're passionate about kind of came to light and really provided a perfect picture for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's the most surprising. I used to be extremely like secretive and insecure about my writing. Like I would write, I mean, I had this book almost all the way done and I never shared it with anyone. And then kind of like the fantasy genre was starting to come back. And I was like, okay, it's time to share this with people. Wasn't really sure about the reception. Didn't really care about the reception either, to be honest.
Right.
And then people were like, oh my God, I love this. There's just enough detail to get you a good picture, but not so much that it's boring. The characters are unique. They have really good, like relatable aspects. Even though it's high fantasy, you're like, well, I'm not going to relate to any of this because there's like witches in here. And it's like, oh, actually, like they're dealing with loss and grief and wars and trying to discover themselves while also losing themselves. So there's a lot of relatability that people can find in it.
That is so cool. And I'm right there with you because doing this show, like I was telling people the last actually a week ago, I said I was going to do it this week, but we'll get there. We're getting there. You know, I've been pulling all the interviews I've done. And you know, I always post the show, but interviews, I'm like, was it okay? Do people want to? And I get really kind of uptight about it too, because it's like, you're putting yourself out there, you know?
Yeah, in the most vulnerable sense.
Right. And now, was that something that was like the hardest part of getting this book together was just kind of, you know, taking that step forward and going, well, let's see what happens?
I think so. Okay. It was extremely nerve-wracking for me. I had originally started publishing it on Wattpad, and if you know, you know, sketch website. But most people, like millennials and like Zoomers, will know what I'm talking about.
I love the Zoomer term, by the way. That is my new favorite generation. You're not Z, you're just Zoomers now.
Yeah, I'm 25. I was born in 97, so I'm like right on the cusp. Yeah. And my boss pointed that out pretty hardcore. But so if you know, you know about Wattpad. I started publishing it there, and the prologue got over 1,000 reads. And I was like,
are you serious?
Yeah, I was shocked. I was like 18 or 19 at the time. And I was like, there's no way this is like, for me at the time, like purely blowing up.
Right.
And so that was kind of like the validation to get me over that fear and to keep going. But at the time, if someone asked me what that book was about, I would be like, great question. You should probably read the prologue. And even then, it's not going to tell you much, but I will not tell you either.
That is so cool. I mean, now, how does that happen? Because to me, I've never been a part of like the whole, like, you know, numbers just right away, except for, you know, some of the interviews here, you're going, wow, it's already got like 3,000 views or whatever. And it puts a smile on your face. But, you know, you don't expect that, you know? Yeah. How many were you expecting to get in a ballpark at, like maybe 100?
Truly, I think when I posted it on Facebook, it maybe got like 30 likes, a couple of shares, just like family and my friends, people I went to school with. And so I was like, okay, I might get 10 people on this. And I was cool with that. I was like, 10 people's more than 0. So that's fine. If people just read what I'm writing, that's all I care about. I don't care about views or anything further than that. I just want to share this story so badly. So hey, it was a big surprise, but like a good surprise.
I love it. So do any of the characters in your book have any correlating, characteristics or attributes that maybe you have that you wanted to kind of, because sometimes I see authors that kind of tell their story in a different character's perspective. Is that the case for this?
I think there are parts of each character and their experiences that I've drawn from, or that I've given them, like Killian, which is one of the narrators. It's a dual narrated book. Killian is this like very strong, but also like very violent character that she's very set in who she is, and she does not mind that at all. And I feel like that's at the time what I totally aspired to be. So writing her with that strength somehow gave me that strength. And then Talon is the other narrator, and he's deeply lost within himself, kind of grappling with a lot of grief and his circumstances and both of his parents dying, watching his parents die. And I had been kind of lightly touched by death, but as I continued to work on the book, at some point I did kind of have to overhaul the entire book. One of my best friends died.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. So kind of going through that grief process was like, I think this is important to include. He's already going through this no matter what.
Right.
So adding that in was very cathartic for me too.
That's what I was going to ask you. If it helped you kind of, it's no getting over it, but at least, kind of making sense of it, or at least kind of helping that process. Does that help you a lot, you said? Or help a little bit?
Yeah, it did. And something that my friend and I would always do when we were growing up was play Fable.
Me too, though. I loved it.
Oh my God, Fable 2. Oh. Godsend. But yes, we would play Fable all the time. Dragon Age, we talked about it all the time. And when she was battling cancer, we were talking about how she wanted the PC version. They started to announce the reboot of the series. We were like freaking out over it. And so it kind of reignited my passion, because I was like, this is, not only has it always been special to me and to a degree of escapism, but it's special to her. It was something that we had together. And she knew that I was writing this book, so I couldn't give up. And I couldn't scrap the story, and I couldn't just like swear off the fantasy genre because it hurt me so much to get back into that after she passed. I had to keep going. And so she deeply inspired me in life and in death.
You weren't supposed to make me cry on my own show. Come on now. But in all seriousness, that's really cool to hear. Yeah. And because, your friend, even though she's not here, kind of helping you propel to get through the end zone with this.
Yeah, for sure. Wow.
So take us through this. So this is step 1, the Oracle is, right?
Yes.
Now, is this going to be a 3-part series, a 2-parter? How is this going to develop?
So it's kind of complicated. I don't know if it's going to be 3 or 4 or 5. It depends how long it takes me. We're a work in progress.
What the hell? See what happens.
We're just kind of going with the flow. I've got the whole story planned out, and I also have a prequel series all planned out. So it's kind of deciding how far I want to take it, or how much I want to leave out to kind of add to that prequel series. But originally this book was a cool 60 chapters. And I was like, we can't do 60 chapters in one book without like finishing the book. But so I split it into 2 parts. And then I was like, okay, that doesn't change the fact that it's a 60 chapter book. You can say this is part 2, or like whatever Twilight did.
Like The Sopranos, part B. You know?
Exactly. But that's people are going to get to the last page and they're going to be like, God, I have to read another one. Like, is that going to be 60 chapters? And books just get bigger as they go. So I was like, okay, let's just cut it. Like, just cut. I think we ended up cutting like almost 30 chapters, if not a little bit more. And it became the second book that I'm working on finishing now.
That's interesting to me, is the cut process, because I'm not a hoarder. But, I hate throwing things away that I might use, or I don't know if I'm going to use it. That's the problem. So how does that work? That's a lot of chapters, and now you're cutting through a lot, half of it, basically. Yeah. Did that kind of get nerve-wracking?
It was, and it actually ended up with me rewriting, I think, like the last 4 chapters toward the end. And that was really difficult, because I had to like flip back through the entire book and figure out, okay, how can I lead up to an ending that does the book justice and that can lead into the second book really well? And I like to not be like an evil author. Like, George R.R. Martin. Like,
you're right, though. You're
like,
right.
He stays killing people. And then, like, J.K. Rowling had, like, the core trio, but just slaughtered everyone around him. And so I was like, I don't want to do that. And there's so many books that I've read that, like, end on cliffhangers. And I'm like, oh, my God, when is the next book coming out? Oh, 3 years. I'm going to forget by then. But I was like, how do I end this book in a way to lead to the book that I already have working on? So it ends on 2 different cliffhangers.
Hey, you got 2 narrators. Might as well have 2 cliffhangers.
Exactly.
Is that kind of the correlation there? Or, oh, okay, I'm wrong. Okay.
There is, so there is a third narrator at times, and it's like a secondary character that plays a major part, but not enough to be one of the like main characters, which makes no sense. Sorry. But so it ends with the final chapter is from his perspective, and it's the first time you get to read from his perspective. And so it's very unique. And then it does tie to something Talon's going through. And then the epilogue is from Killian's perspective. So at that point, you don't know what's going on with Talon. You have no idea how he's handling the big event that has just happened. And then the secondary character, Dravith, is like, oh, I'm going to drop this like really casual bomb and the book's going to end there. And then you get to the epilogue and you're like, okay, maybe this is going to solve something, kind of add to that. No, it doesn't. Killian makes it worse.
Now, I got to ask you, because I'm still kind of learning the writing world a little bit. We just, like I said, we had on Sarah Do with Writers of the RiverBend, and all of a sudden I just started getting a lot of writers back on and authors because, well, they figured out I didn't hate them. I just lost all the business cards.
Yeah.
Well, to me, I think writing with 2 narrators and maybe even a third at times, it got to be difficult.
It is, not only like in the editing process where I like use he instead of she. And I'm like, why did I do that? I know I'm not writing from their perspective, or like using the wrong name, or even at times creating like this weird gap where one of them has experienced something and the other one hasn't, but then the other one goes and mentions it. And so when I was going through that, I did that a few times on accident because this book took 7 years in the making. So I was like, oh my God, what happens in chapter 5?
Right.
Like,
did that happen to him or the other? Exactly. That's what I would do.
It's so difficult. So I purposely created, I fixed all of those errors, but then I purposely used that to my advantage to create plot holes in this book to resolve them in the second book. So people are going to read this and be like, where did it go? And my publisher actually asked me, she was like, hey, this one chapter is my favorite chapter. Why did that never come up again? Because they mentioned it coming up again. And I was like,
I love it.
You got to read chapter 1 of the next book. I don't know what to tell you.
No, that's perfect, because to me, I think that, so many times when I, read something from a local author, a lot of times that perspective of what's next isn't really in that, forefront of their mind. It might be, but it's not really translated on the pages and in the book. But here, it seems like you got a big game plan coming up.
Yeah, I think having so long to work on it and just kind of like endless inspiration, and then my own, like, I've read this book, I can't even tell you how many times. I've probably read certain chapters like hundreds of times over the last few years. So I could probably read you this book front to back without even touching it. But it's still a story that I absolutely adore.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of what fuels me to keep it going. But then to also leave these pieces out of this book to get people excited the way that I'm excited.
Right. And we'll see, and that's what's really interesting. I just lost my train of thought, but I had a really good question, and it's gone. So there you go. Sorry, but to me, I just think that this whole idea that you have is really cool. So you said 7 years. Is it going to take you 7 years for the next one?
No, I've actually been working on it like nonstop last week. My daughter and I had RSV, which was like sketchy. We're both totally cool.
Good, okay. Because I know that was running rampant for like 3-4 months, it seemed like.
Yeah, her doctor said that like 98% of the colds that adults have right now are RSV.
Yeah, I heard that.
Which is like super scary, but we're all good. But I used that time in between her naps to just write nonstop and ended up finishing, I think, like 14 chapters.
Good
so
for
now
you.
I have 4 or 5 or 6 to go, which is, kind of the theme of like, I don't know how many books are going to be in this series. So yeah, we're getting real close on that one.
Okay, I remember my question. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's still a little bit early.
Yeah.
But no, it's not. But anyway.
We'll say this.
Yeah, right? Is it like listening to yourself, like seeing your talk for the first time when you're reading your own work?
So I think for me, and this might sound a little bit weird, in my head, they all have their own voices.
Okay.
And that might make me sound a little insane. I'm not insane.
It's okay. I am.
Oh, well, that's,
there
you
you
know
go.
what? Maybe I'm a little bit.
Yeah.
We're fine. We all got medication for that, right? My therapist makes good money off of me.
Yeah, that's what I tell people.
yeah, it's a fair lie. It's all right. But they all have their own voices to me. And so in a way, we're discussing an audiobook where my friend would be the narrator, but he would kind of have like my cadence because I envision myself being the narrator. But even now I'm tired of my own voice. So like he's going to take that off for me and then we're going to switch off the characters.
I meant like reading the book the first. Is that weird for you to do? Because like for me, listening to my first ever, show even back in St. Louis, I'm like, oh my God, why do I sound like that? Why am I the way I am? Did you have any of that feeling? Because it seems like you're really proud of the story.
Yeah, so this went through, oh my gosh, 5 or 6 versions by the time, because I started as a teenager and my writing only progressed at that point.
Right.
So the first half of the book got a total overhaul. It is not the same book that people read on Wattpad. And so reading those old chapters, I was like, ew, that's really embarrassing. And then going back and reading what ended up being the final product when I was, doing all the editing, my publisher was sending me like, hey, is this version good? And I was like, no, I made a really dumb typo. We got to fix that. Reading it again, I did cringe a little bit because there's also that sense of like, okay, this is your work. You're proud of it no matter what. But then like the prospect of like my parents reading it.
Yeah.
There's a part of it that I don't want my parents or my grandparents to read where I'm like, is this going to change their perspective of me? Or are they going to like understand like, oh, she's an adult? Or is it going to be a topic at dinner?
That's what I worry about all the time because I eat lunch everywhere, in town. Johnson's Corner is my favorite place. And I'm like, man, if I say something on the show, is someone going to like, go, hey, I'm 240 pounds and you're 130. You want to say that again? Like all that stuff goes through my mind. But it's so really cool. So take us through, we have a couple minutes left here before we wrap it up. What is the best way to get our hands on a copy of this? Because this seems like something we're all going to want to follow. It's Alton's, Harry Potter series in a way, or Lord of the Rings that we're getting to be a part of.
Yeah. So you can go to wanderingmindspublishing.com. There's the paperback version, which I've got like the first draft of here. And then there's also the ebook version, which is totally formatted for Kindles, Nooks, iPads, your cell phone. So yeah, those are on there.
That's fantastic. And before I let you go, the best part of this was whenever you came down here and you said, I used to come here all the time for the teen center dances. And that's what I think is the best part of being here is going, I used to go in that, bank vault all the time and do the little dance party or go upstairs for the lock-in and all these things. But, you brought up a good point. If you guys need to learn more about the new iMerge Community Center, it's online. All you got to do is imergecommunitycenter.org. Every Friday, the dances are back thanks to Bridget and her family. So for more information, go and head over. Check out that website. Evelyn, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And what's the best way for us to follow along with your journey if we had any listeners curious?
Yeah, so I've got a Facebook page. You can just search Evelyn King Author. It's EVELYN. Sometimes that's a little tricky.
It was for me, to be honest with you. It really was.
That's fair. It's like an 18th century name that no
I like
one.
it though. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. But you can go to my Facebook page. I've also got an Instagram, also called Evelyn King Author.
Absolutely. 1052, thank you so much for your time. Whenever you're ready for that second book, you got to come back.
I will.
Awesome.
I will.
It's the 26th day of January, and we wrap it up right after this in downtown Alton.